I am absolutely fascinated how the media and the various news platforms are analyzing something that is obvious. There's no analysis here. Trump lies in wait while the Dems collapse amid their lies and deception. That is the theme of today's show. What are we debating? What are we watching? I love it. I'll go through it with you. I think it's terrific. It's incredible. We can go through these events. We can go through these moments. We can do a lot of these things. What's fascinating beyond fascinating is this idea of what is happening in the world and why people are missing the point regarding this demented coot. And I'm not even going to play them back again. We did this last night. It was a wonderful night. But let me say this again, and I'm going to repeat something because if you've noticed my routine, sometimes I have to say something because I don't think people really understand it. What are we debating? What are we debating? He's gone. Figuratively, politically, actually, he's gone. Joe Biden is gone. He's done. As we speak, as of right now, there are 122 days until the election. Question number one, can he make it to November? No. No. Let me see if I can clarify this. No. Either he can't make it, either they bump him, he resigns, he quits, God forbid something worse. He is not going to be the nominee because he can't be. He literally cannot be. Let me say this again. He didn't have a bad night. We, as patriots and Americans and truth centuries, must control the narrative. They love to call it certain things. These people refer to illegal aliens as undocumented migrants. No, don't use their words. They're illegal aliens, criminals, all of them. If somebody trespasses and is in your living room at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have not given them permission, they are trespassing. At least. So you can call them anything you want. Squatters, criminals. So Joe Biden is out of it. He didn't have a bad performance. He didn't have a cold. There is something wrong with him. It may not be dementia. We, of course, most people in the media, they know everything. They know the law. They know medicine. We're experts on seed oils and we're experts on, oh my God, name it. The Constitution, religion, history, and what we don't know, we make up. We make up. Do you hear what I'm saying? We make this up. We make it up. So let's start off with this premise. And God bless you for joining us. It's a wonderfully rainy day here in New York City. Our friend, official Ryan Nirvana says, Joe's saying I beat Medicaid should be replayed over and over again. Indeed, sir. And it will be. Ibrahim says time goes by really fast. No, not if you're not paying attention to it. You see, if you were sitting, who was it? Einstein said, if you're sitting on a stove, or what am I doing here? Hang on a minute. What is going on here? If you're sitting on a stove, time will slow down. Let's say that there's a burner on and you sit on the stove, time will just stop. A second will seem like a year. Time is time space. Where you are and what time it is. If I told you, meet me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock p.m., what's your next question? Where? If I said, meet me at in Bushwick, Brooklyn, when? So time and space work interchangeably. That's what that means. Ibrahim says, we make up, like Biden, make up. Interesting. A tad cryptic, but I like it. Raul says, for the Dems, Biden is their sacrificial offering. How does that mean? How is he their sacrificial offering? Offering to whom? Next rule, don't make things up to come up with an explanation. The explanation has to make sense. Well, they're deliberately sacrificing him. Why? Well, because they're throwing Joe out there. Why? Well, because what's the purpose behind it? There has to be a reason. Why? And I know sometimes I like to stay away from why, but because we're saying, well, there's got to be a reason. No, there does not have to be a reason. None. We're analyzing things and it's fun. I love it. Let me give you an analogy. All right. Let me give you an analogy. One of my subjects, which I love, is serial killers. And the question that people can never understand is why? Why do they do it? Why? There are people in prison who've been in prison forever, who are the worst, who are absolutely psychopathic off the charts. But they've never been killers. They've never killed anybody. And they're not serial killers. Why? And people will say, well, because they either were, as a young person, involved in arson, animal abuse or neglect, and bedwetting or enuresis. No, that's not why they're a serial killer. That's a correlation. That is a trait. That is something that they are involved in, but that is not a reason why. You see what I'm saying? We don't know why. Why did you go out? Because I have to feel this urge. Why? Why do you? If somebody says, I had to break in to get money to feed my heroin addiction. Why? Because if I don't get the drugs, I'm going to get sick. That makes sense. Didn't that make sense to you? Made sense to me. There's no why. I got it. Why? I needed the money. Okay, this may be a motivation. There has to be something through this. So rule number 1, ladies and gentlemen, you are in a mental hospital. Dear friend, I reach out to you and I extend my hand in friendship. You are in a mental hospital and you are trying to make sense out of this. You think that, well, there's got to be a reason. And when you watch George Stephanopoulos, who, by the way, was exquisite. George Stephanopoulos, I don't want you to like the guy, but in that debate, or not debate, that question, that interrogation, he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Rule number 1, let's go back. Because we can argue, but we can talk about this all day long. And what they want to do on TV and the various media, what they want to do, what they're trying to concoct is a reason to keep you watching, which I'm doing this as well. I'm in the information biz. This is what I do. I'm in the information biz. The information entertainment. You must be entertained, meaning you must enjoy it. You must enjoy the subject matter. If you don't enjoy this, no one enjoys dieting. No one enjoys prepping for a colonoscopy. You do it, but once it's done, you're over with. That's enough. This should be exciting. It's fun. We're watching this. You're seeing everything. Last night I was watching Sagar and everybody breaking in, and Sky News in Australia. I think they're great. Sometimes they get it better than we do. And they're analyzing it. CBS is analyzing, NBC, Fox, everybody on Fox News are saying they're taking out the proverbial Rolodex. Get Karl Rove. We've had him. Who else? Get a body language expert. Body language. There was no body. Get a body language expert. How many more guests you need? 10? 10. Oh, God. Victor Davis Hanson. We used him. We used him already? Yeah. Okay. I'll use him again. Who else? Dr. Janine. Doctor. Judge Janine. What does she know? I don't know what she knows. Just judge. Get him or her. Okay, who else? Anybody else? Who are the people you really want to hear? You're not going to be on Fox. Alex Jones. You want to hear great, interesting people. Psychiatrists, mental hospitals, serial killers. I swear to God, I'm going to go live right now to Rahway State Prison in New Jersey to talk with Festus Lagovny, who is serving 10 life sentences for serial killing. What did you think about that? Wouldn't you tune in to see a serial killer? What does he think? Or would you rather see Karl Rove with his white board? Nobody cares about Karl Rove. If you're going to have somebody on, have somebody on. It's almost like a focus group, but have interesting people. Let's talk to 12-time convicted serial arsonist. I'll watch that. What do you think? So they're just shoveling this. To them, the media, it's a runaway train. They have to keep it going. They have to keep it moving. They have to keep this thing barreling on. They have to just keep talking about it. But it is simple. He's going. He's gone. He's got to go. To use the mob mentality, he's got to go. He can't do this. Do we all understand this? It doesn't matter whether you agree. Doesn't matter. He's not going to be here. Why? He can't. It's simple. This is very simple. Physically, mentally able. He may not necessarily have dementia. He may not have dementia. He is not suffering from memory loss. One of the classic traits of this, ask any neurologist, he remembers exactly what the question is. He even knows when he's going off. He's, anyway. He knows. We use that word dementia, Alzheimer's, don't go into Lewy body dementia, but we use this term kind of as a synonym for chingad, as we say as the boys downtown would say, just out of it, arrebatado, gone, wax, gooned, crackers. He's through. He's finished. We use that word. He may be actually suffering from a delirium, which goes from time to time where you're having a hard time processing, maybe anger, maybe it's kind of transitory. It's not necessarily that. So, does it matter? I don't know. Ryan says, is Kamala the best replacement for Biden? Fascinating questions. She was dismantled by Tulsi in the debate. Was she really? You think so. What about people who don't like Tulsi? Did it matter? No. You thought she was, and you're probably right, and I agree with you. But remember, I think that, you think that, do they think that? She was dismantled by Tulsi in the debate, and, correct me if I'm wrong, also has a laundry list of skeletons going back to her days in California, for which the GOP has to work with. Ryan, you are brilliant. Let's go through this. This is an excellent question, and first of all, thank you. Number one, remember, what I think and you think means nothing. This is the rule of life. This is the rule of life. Do you have friends of anybody have a friend of yours who's married to somebody you can't stand? Do you have a relative, a friend, a neighbor married to somebody? You hate this guy or gal, and you're wondering, what are they thinking? Doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter. Why do people get tattoos? I don't have a tattoo. Doesn't matter what you think. Taylor Swift. It doesn't matter what you think. So that's the first one. You could say, I think this is the best, but I think that Ben Carson made. It doesn't matter what we think. So remember, and it's a wonderful thing. Start off every day with this prayer. This is the earth. All right, this is our earth. And you are a speck. You are the atom, the neutrino, the quark, the graviton of a speck of dust 20 million light years away. That's your significance. It is a wonderful thing. We are nothing. It's the most liberating feeling. It disengages. It's in a sense an abnegation of responsibility. You know how in AA they say you must admit there's a higher power, a higher whatever. I like that. Meaning you're just be humble. Let humility be your pole star. That's number one. So it doesn't matter what we think, okay? Now, but with that, Ryan, understand something. Doesn't mean I'm right. Oh, I'm absolutely right. Let me make sure you understand what I'm saying here. There are some subjects I really don't know what to say, and I will tell you, I don't know. I don't know. But when I'm talking about something, I know exactly what's going on. Bradley Oplin says, Friedrich Nietzsche had once famously said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. How are we going to drain the swamp? Job is a beginning. This is a fascinating case. Brad, and thank you. How do we begin any long journey? By taking a step forward and realizing it may or may not work. I want to reinstitute and reconfigure and instill in the great people of this great country and the great world a sense of critical thinking. How do we do that? I have no idea. I want to revamp education. How do we do this? I have no idea. Drain the swamp. Will you ever drain the swamp? Yes or no? Answer is no. Why? Which swamp? Multiple swamps. Swamps everywhere. Swamps, Everglades, easy for me to say, brackish water, cesspools, stagnant. That's what we're talking about. So this word, drain the swamp, we will never, ever do it. That's okay. I can make a sizable difference. Nathan Shields says, why would they put Biden in office to begin with? Everyone knew he was out of his tree years ago. Nathan, thank you, sir. But let me say something. You knew that. Nathan, I don't know you. I think I do. I appreciate you being with us. I am going to assume you are voting for President Trump. I don't want to assume that that's exactly what you're doing. You're going to be voting for President Trump. That's what I think. I'm just kind of taking a guess. I'm taking a guess. Okay. All right. Now, there are people, Nathan, who think you are out of your tree. And they will say to you, how can you vote for that man? You do understand that. How can you listen to that music? How can you marry that person? How can you eat that stuff? Vive la différence. I don't know. You want to know why? Again, we go back to that why thing. Remember, I don't know why. I don't know why. Shall we go down the list? AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was despised by them. Bill Clinton, I can see that. Barack Obama, I can see that. Ilhan Omar, I don't know how big she is among the Democratic Party. I don't know that. I can't explain Sarah Palin. I don't know. How did they pick her? So what you're saying is, and this is something that I've been asking my whole life, all when you get to certain levels, you think this is the most. For example, here in New York, I was always believed that number one was the New York, or number one New York radio market. Radio is dead. I'm sorry. It's almost like a vestige. You know what radio is going to be, especially AM? It's going to be like going years ago. We used to go to this place called Steak and Shake. I still think it's the best burger joint around. And they would have these classic cars, you know, with the hoods popped and you see a Corvette or a Dodge Charger. It was like a hot rod club, vestigial, a kind of like nostalgia. That's what radio and media are going to be. Okay, now, that in mind, I found out that the most stupid people I've ever met in my life are in New York radio. Absolutely brain dead. How does that be? How did this person get picked? I don't know. How can they do this? I don't know. Why would they pick that guy? I don't know. Why is he the news director or the program director? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. How was Lizzo ever? How did they pick Kamala? How does this work? How? We will never, ever know this. How can you do this? Brison Himura says, is there a shadow government running things? Yes. Behind the scenes? Yes. Why couldn't they just fix it that they win and they choose who their new puppet is? Why? What chance we have? Well, let me explain something. Thank you very much. First of all, there is a shadow government. Absolutely. Brison, I'm going to pronounce your name phonetically. Who do you think stole the last election? Legally. Remember, who stole it? Legally. Pretty soon you're going to be able to say stole it without the legally. Notice how people are talking about Wuhan, vaccines, culpability, criminality. You notice how people are talking about 9/11? You notice this all of a sudden? And Bobby Kennedy, the worst one ever. Well, I'm not really sure about Candace Owens. I saw a film when I was in junior high called Loose Change. That's great. That's good, Candy. Have a seat. Sagar said, you know, the Saudi Arabians. Okay, well, all of a sudden they're talking about this. Why? I don't know. I don't know. There was a rule that said, a strict social media rule that said, it lasted about an hour. You say something in favor of Russia, you say something against Ukraine, you're out of here. That lasted about 20 minutes. Now it's nothing but anti-Ukraine. Nothing but. How did that happen? I don't know. These rules change. When does music change? Who killed disco? Why? What happened? Sometimes it's evolution. Sometimes it's just progress. Sometimes it's just stuff that happens. Sometimes who knows why? Who, honest to God, can really tell you why? It's hard to say. And you could say, well, who is the shadow government? This is a good one too. Shadow government, deep state, whatever you want to call it. Of course there is. There always has been. Here's the best part. You ready for this? It was in the New Yorker, I think it was, that said that all of a sudden the lefties are recognizing the fact that there's a shadow government. Because they're saying, I think there's people behind the scenes who might, yes. Edie Crowley says, I learned too late of Biden's corruption. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most of my friends are blind and I can't make them see. Edie, not only that, let me go back to what I said. Why are we debating whether he is up to it? You notice how they do the euphemism. We used to use this word fat. It's terrible. Now we say plus size. Curvy. You know, she's curvy. What does that mean? Fat. Oh, okay. Why didn't you say so? I want to be nice. Oh, okay. What about her? Plus size. What? Fat. Oh, okay. Pre-owned. What? Used. Old. Oh, okay. In music, radio programming, urban. What does that mean? Black. It's black music. Wait a minute. My great friend Jerry Wexler coined the term rhythm and blues. He hated the term race music. What does it mean? Black. You can say whatever you want. Non-binary, gay. And gay, well, you can say, so you can, we believe in euphemism. We love to change things. What do we call this now? Homeless is not, what do we call homeless now, honey? What is it? Unhoused. So this is it. So what somebody needs to do is say, okay, thank you very much. I'm George Stephanopoulos. I say, excuse me, George, can I ask you a question? Yes. Mr. President, yeah, you can go now. And I want to look over at him, get real close, and say, George, let me ask you something. If Joe Biden were your father or your brother-in-law or your uncle, would you go to a doctor and say, Doc, something's wrong with him? Why? Well, first of all, he looks terrible. I can barely hear him. He can't pronounce words. He can't articulate. Not being able to articulate. By virtue of my, I guess, growing up, and like Biden, being stuttery as a kid, I was very lucky. Mine was not, debilitating, but I've always listened to accents, jaws, lisping, tongue thrusting, how people pronounce words, how I listen to ways people speak, volume. Have you ever seen some people are very, very loud? So I just know this. And I would go to the doctor and say, something's wrong with my brother-in-law, dad, or whatever it is. There's something wrong with him. Why? Well, look at him. He doesn't look right. First of all, when somebody walks like this, when you walk, remember in the old days when you had a phone outside and God forbid, you're on the loo and the phone rings and your trousers, your pants are at half mast and you got to do the penguin walk to the phone. In a minute, somebody get caught. And you do one of these walks. Hello, I'll call you back. Because you always answer the phone. You always answer the phone. Now we never answer the phone. We don't even talk on the phone. But that kind of look, that's what that was. He can't articulate the beginning of one word and the next. We're seeing coordination problems. Forget his voice. Forget this. We're seeing coordination problems. There was this wonderful thing called ischemia. What does it mean? Oxygen deprivation is part of a stroke. Sherwin Newland, who wrote the great book, How We Die, absolutely changed my life. This is Victoria Newland's father, by the way, said, every form of death is oxygen deprivation. We are an obligate aerobe. Okay? Ischemia. Always, this is the one. If there's one check that I would love every now and then, check with your doctors. See how your carotid's doing. If you're having, and this is something which is very interesting, if you've had stents and problems and occlusions one place, you've had them elsewhere. That's why, believe it or not, after bypass, stents, and all this kind of, not bypass, but stents, and that the death rate is not necessarily, according to some studies, lessened significantly because that was a problem there. It is elsewhere. So Joe Biden is unable to speak. He is losing coordination, the ability to articulate. This could be another problem. B. Wakel, an Aussie here. I like what he says, an Aussie here. Ultimately, all this fakery and shadow goobs will be replaced by awakening people to authenticity. I hope so. Apparently, that is the most powerful emotion. More powerful than love. Truth will oust. I hope so. I hope so. And thank you so much, our dear Aussie friend. I thank you for that. Will truth prevail? I hope so. Will goodness always triumph? Not necessarily. What do you mean? Well, I'm not trying to be negative about it, but I do not have any faith in the human system. I do not have any faith in anybody. I'll think there's a good inclination that this will happen. I will see that things normally get better. There's a certain restorative reflex to certain things. And by the way, your questions are 100% fantastic. I never look at things because they are. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe that, well, in the long run, the good win. No, they don't. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in goodness. I don't believe in badness. I don't believe there's any overarching rule that the good guys will prevail. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't believe that. I don't. There's too much horror in the world. I believe that man is basically bad, not good. And if you're good, what you actually are is not you, but I mean the people. What they are is actually just not bad. I don't believe that people are good natured. Most people do nothing good. Most people do nothing. Most people are self. Forgive me. This is the most sensitive. My God, you just blink. Anyway, I don't believe that. No, I'm not saying I'm a pessimist. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. Let me give you an example. We'll time out here. We have friends of ours who live in La La Land. And there are some people who live in parts of Long Island, Westchester. Oh, people love to say Westchester. Westchester. Nobody thinks of Yonkers, but they think of Westchester. They always use these sort of the Hamptons, Westchester. Okay. We have friends in Jersey. Jersey is some of the most beautiful stuff in the world. Okay. So Mrs. L has been saying criminals are coming to your neighborhood. Why? They don't make money stealing criminals don't stay in East New York because they live there. With all due respect, East New York. They go to other places. They will go to Chatham or wherever in New Jersey. They will go to nice places. They get in the car, they ask people, where are the rich people? ¿Dónde está rico gente? Chatham, New Jersey. Gracias. And they're off to Chatham or wherever, Mendham or Chatham, and they rob and loot and pillage and steal and burgle the people there. Why? That's where the money is. Now, stop. Is that because I'm a pessimist? No. Isn't there a God? I think there's many people who believe that. Doesn't goodness prevail? No. No. Are there going to be always bad people? Yes. Will you ever stop crime? No. You'll reduce it. Will we ever drain the swamp? No. We can make it better. It's got to be really drastic at first. In fact, when you do something first, you have to shock yourself. Just like if ever you want to lose weight, make sure before you do this, day one, fast for 24 hours, then start your diet. Shock your system. What is he doing? What is he doing? Is this a diet? Is he? Oh God, he's diet. That's what you want. You shock it at first, and then it's like, okay, get ready. We're gonna. All right, let me go back to what's going on here. And forgive me if I give you I hope they don't seem like Joe Biden little desultory moments, but sometimes I think of an analogy that helps me explain what I'm trying to say. Number one, Joe is going. Why? Let me try this again. Not that you don't understand, but I would tell Joe or tell George Stephanopoulos, listen, he's out of it. I don't know what you're talking about. He did not have a bad performance. A bad performance is when Tiger Woods says, my chip shot wasn't good. My long. No, that's a bad day. When that horrible Frank Luntz Doesn't this lunts sound like a certain biomass hitting a pool of water, like a bowl of water? Like, boop. It sounds like lunts. I'm sorry, but everything has a name, has a sound. Like, lump. It's like the beginning of Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Blum, blum, blum. Those are lunces. A double lunce sounds like a skiing configuration or skating. In any event, he with the bad tube said, no, you see, I've got a cold. I want to look up to George Stephanopoulos and say, I don't know who sent you. I don't know what your deal is. I don't know if you're just hanging on for your dear life, if you're part of this rancid, sick cabal. But let me tell you something, George. You better look at me and answer a question. Do you think he had a bad performance, or do you think he is out of it? Out of it. Yes, he's out of it. You don't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind is blowing. I think Bob Dylan said that. And you don't have to be an expert in neurology. You don't need an MRI. You don't need any of this stuff. He's not up for it. When you walk like this and you're going to bed at 4 o'clock, stop it. When you're walking around at G7, when you're in your best behavior, because you're, stop it. George, look at me. Stop it. I'm going to grab his tie. Stop it. Now I want you to go back on TV and I want you to tell people what you did. Tell them they're holding my family hostage. I had to do this. Remember that crazy, is he still married to that crazy wife, that comedian or whatever her name is? I don't know. Oh man, these people are these are lunatics. You ever seen this prize? But I digress. Now, does he jump in now? He jump in later. Does he leave now? I don't know. Does he leave before the convention? I don't know. Does he resign? I don't know. What does he do? 25th Amendment. This is the best one. What happens? They're also going to tell Joe, I don't want to hear any of this stuff about how you and your family and Dr. Jill are adamant. We own you. The moment I flip the switch, we'll start off with your brother Jim. We'll pack him away forever. And in fact, it'll look good. It'll show the rest. See, this is for all you folks who think we were going out against Trump only. We'll pack him away. Your waste of flesh, pond scum son of yours, we'll get rid of him next. He's through. He's finished. He's done. Oh, we'll pack him away. And then we'll come after you. Because remember, according to what you thought, you turned the Justice Department against Trump. Now you're going to get it. So do I have your attention now, Joe? Yeah, good. Joe, maybe you can lead it. When we tell you to go, you're going to go. Let me say this again, Joe. When we tell you to step down, however we tell you, you bump your head, you got COVID, you got the clap, whatever it is, you hurt yourself, whatever. You have no say in this. Do we make ourselves clear? You've known this. Ask John Kennedy. Ask anybody. Ask anybody along the way. Ask Bobby Kennedy. And by the way, one of the reasons why I know Bobby Kennedy has absolutely no guts. I would be screaming about who killed my father every single, and I would say that thing, Caesar, whatever his name, I would be out there, but he is so compromised. He is so weak. There is no character except for Trump. And the reason why they hate Trump so much is because he has this incredible sense of justice. Okay, good. So Biden is out. Now, next thing you know, is it going to be Kamala? Let me stop right there. I'm not asking you what you think or what makes the most sense to you. I'm asking you, are they going for Kamala? They're saying, Frank Lund says they have to because of the fact that Kamala is black. Would you stop this black business? Would you stop this once and for all? Would you enough of this black business? Oh, we can't do it because if tomorrow we say we're going for, I don't know, some old white guy who was a member of the Klan, you're not going to do anything. What are you going to do? Not vote? Are you going to riot? Are you going? Democrats don't care about anything. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. The people who do anything are BLM, and that's Antifa, and those are rioters, and those are domestic shock troops. Those are domestic terrorists that the shadow government puts into place. Democrats don't do anything. Democrats don't care. Democrats barely vote. They've got a bunch of loudmouths. They don't do anything. Democrats are clueless. Let me say this again. Maybe you didn't hear me. Democrats don't know anything. If you went to most Democrats and say, what do you think about puberty blockers? Who? Puberty blockers? If you hold a picture of Rachel Levine, who's that? What's his name? George the Animal Steel? No. Who is this? I don't know. You don't know who this is? No. You're a Democrat? Yeah. I hate Trump. They hate Trump. That they do. So this idea that somehow you're going to enrage Democrats. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you enrage Barry Diller, so what? So what? Barry Diller hasn't been relevant in the past, 25, 30 years? And you put these stories up. Barry Diller says he's out. Good. Terrific. Okay. Any word on, I can't think of any other people who, is Sheldon Leonard around here? I mean, I don't know. What difference does that make? They put their name in the news so that they want you to think, I still carry the shot. Barry Diller and who's the one? Diane Van Furstenberg. Who was that? Diane Furstenberg. That relationship, they don't even have. Look, you know what that's about, right? I don't have to tell you what that story is about. So they throw this stuff at you that doesn't matter. So rule number 3 or 4 or 5, Democrats don't matter. They don't care. Get rid of Kamala, bring somebody else in. This business, but they have to have a black person. No, they don't. They don't care about black people, white people, gay people, nothing. You can't figure them out. It's like going into a mental hospital and saying, where's the next fight going to be? I don't know. Somebody could say something. Something could happen. And they say, well, they can't use the money if it's, this is my favorite. Well, they have to go with Kamala. Why? Why? Well, because of the money. Money. These people print money. Do you think they're going to stick with Kamala Harris because they can't raise the funds otherwise? Are you telling me that the world, when I say shadow government, I mean globalist, worldwide, international, they're going to sit there and go, oh, damn it, why? Well, why? Because we got Kamala in there and there's no way for us to, excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear you. What did you say? Well, they said that there's no way they can use another candidate because all of the money that was raised, was going to Joe and Kamala. Yeah. And you don't think we're going to steal that money? We stole an election legally. You think we can't steal this? Who's going to sue us? Who's going to stop us? Who's doing an audit on this? There'll be a special meeting. There'll be a special review of the bylaws. There'll be this and that. And they're going to tell all of the investors, the contributors and the donors, we might want our money back. Shut up. Okay. So let me get this straight. They actually told you that. They told you, I don't know what we're going to do because we're stuck with Kamala. Well, because of the money. Are you kidding me? They've got America believing anything. They don't care about the rules. It's their money. How do you know the money's even there? How do you know whether it's Trump or whatever? Well, it gets $150 million just overnight. Ever since the debate, Trump made $700 million. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. Really? Do you know this for a fact? Is somebody going to do an audit on this? Or are they going to, well, it was unpledged versus in kind? Stop it. America's the most gullible place I've ever heard. And these are the same people who say, do we have to drain the swamp? Well, first of all, you got to understand how the swamp works. And apparently people don't, because they keep thinking that there's some rule they have to follow. They don't care about Kamala Harris. They don't care. We're assuming that they're just maybe trying to co-opt the attention. Maybe they're just using Kamala as a means of garnering attention. That I don't know. Our good friend B. Wakul said, Aussie here. I love that. Brandon is out of his tree. The Trumpinator had a gutless, spineless VP, but from memory, the president doesn't have to leave office. Is this correct? They just don't leave and incite rebellion and martial law. Well, you know, Wakul, Aussie here. God bless you. Isn't it funny how we have to go sometimes to our foreign, and I say that there's no foreigner to truth, but our foreign brothers and sisters to ask these incredibly important questions. Let's go through this, and I'm glad you brought this up. Here's what can happen. One, right now, what happens if Biden quits? What question do you have? First question should be, quit what? Step down from the presidency? Step down, withdraw his name as a nominee? Release the delegates? What? What happens now? Is it a good idea? Now, don't think about Democrats. Ask yourself, from the viewpoint of Republicans, is it good for the president now to drop out now? And what do you mean drop out? Let's go back to this thing called the 25th Amendment. This is if he were to leave the office and put Kamala in right now as the incumbent for, you ready for this? A grand total of 122 days before the election. How does the 25th Amendment work? Great question. Great question. Let's look at this. It's very simple. Number one, 25th Amendment says, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Section 1, 25th Amendment. In the case of the removal or the death or the resignation of the president, Kamala Harris shall become president. And as we mentioned last night, my friend, dear friends, it was a time of John Tyler, 1841 or whatever it was, right after the death of William Henry Harrison, who had, you know that famous story, he gave his inaugural speech in the rain and he didn't wear a jacket and he died a month later. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to believe, that's fine. But in any event, dear friend, John Tyler said at the time, because if you read this weird Article 2 before the 25th Amendment, it was this weird thing. It was this strange. It was weird because they said basically at the time that in the event of any kind of resignation or a move or what have you, in fact, it said in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 6 of the Constitution, listen to this. In case of the removal of the president from office or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties, the same shall devolve on the vice president. And this is very ambiguous because in the circumstances, the vice president becomes the president or merely assumes the powers and duties. Does he become an acting president? Does he become the president? Is he the president? It also fails to define, well, what do you mean by inability? How are questions concerning inability to be resolved? The 25th Amendment came along in 1967 to deal with that. And so that's it. So this is the deal. So here's what he can do. This is if Biden really wants to be absolutely a deek, as we say, who says, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invoke the 25th Amendment. Yay! Not so fast. Section 3. Section 3. You're going to invoke Section 3. What's Section 3? I'm glad you asked. Whenever the president transmits to the president pro tem, and who's the president pro tem? It's Vice President, Speaker of the House, and President of the Senate pro tem, Patty Murray. Who? Patty Murray. Sounds like a Irish barkeep on the west side. Patty Murray? Patty Murray. Okay. Well, whatever. So what happens? So what Joe Biden does is he transmits a written declaration to the president pro tem and the speaker that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. This is what Biden does. Doesn't send it to the vice president. He sends it to Patty Murray and Johnson. He says he's unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. And until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. And we don't know how many times can he do this? How does that even work? It's fascinating. Does he say, I'm no good? I'm good. I'm no good. Kamala, you're acting president. Move around. Oh, wait, I feel better. It's like when people are transitional. It's like when people are, I'm fluid. I'm binary. I declare myself as a woman. How many times can you go back and forth? I guess. Maybe. I'm not sure. Could I? Maybe. That would be the best because Kamala would just be acting president. She wouldn't be called the president, be almost like acting president. That's, well, again, they're not going to let him do that because they will threaten him, and worse if he decides to do this. So anyway, she comes in, she takes over, and what happens? Now, you ask the question. I believe our friend Ryan, Aussie here, Ryan asked the question. Well, what about her past life? Excuse me. What about her past life is so horrible? What? She was a trollop. She was sexually vivacious. She enjoyed a concupiscent vivacity. She was the belle of the ball. What are you suggesting? She's a slattern? That she was kept by Willie Brown? Okay. And then Montel Williams? Okay. What about it? What's your point? Well, what about it? Did she break any laws? No. She was a woman who sowed her wild oats, who used her sexual wiles, plied her wares to seek and enjoy some type of status. Well, what's wrong with that? What do you mean what's wrong with that? Well, what are you going to do? Bring it up? You're going to try to what? Slut shame her? Good luck. Today, good luck with that one. Go ahead. Be my guest. Go ahead. Well, You want to talk about, ask Joe Biden and Jill Biden what happened the day his wife was in that accident and why she was in the accident and what precipitated all of that. Remember that story? No, you don't. We know that one. They've been talking about that in the dark web of information and the blinds for years, but you're not going to get to that one. How about Gavin Newsom? Oh, dear God, I can't wait for that one. This guy is a freak. Oh, this guy's a freak. And then guess who else comes in? Kimberly Guilfoyle. Kimberly Guilfoyle. Who's that? That's Don Jr.'s fiance, Kimberly Guilfoyle, married to Gavin Newsom. Oh, man. She's a work. You're going to bring that one in? Where do you want to start? You want to keep going? We got Elon Omar, who marries her brother. We got AOC. I mean, does this make any? Do you think the Americans are going to say, "Whoa, wait a minute, hold it"? Are you telling me that this woman? What about Nancy Pelosi and her husband? What's that story? How come the guy with the hammer was the hammer? They called him a hammer for other reason. What's that all about? Doesn't matter. Do you really think? And do you think anybody on Fox News is going to dare bring this up? That crew? Oh my God! This one's stupid. That one. Oh please! Do you remember all the problems at Fox News? They had to bounce all these people. All these people had to quit. From Roger Ailes, his story. You got the one guy who was a director, Bill O'Reilly with the falafel. And I mean, do you think that sexual excesses today make any difference? Of course not. None. Who's going to talk about it? How about Jeffrey Toobin? Jeffrey Toobin was shaking hands with Shorty on a Zoom call. He's back. He's back. Toobin might be some street reference, whatever. I mean, nobody cares about this. Nobody. And they're going to say things like, "Well, what is her line? I haven't committed it to memory for a lot of reasons. Untethered by the past and the future," whatever that story is. Do you remember when George Walker Bush, George W., who they believe was suffering from some form of Broca's area or Wernicke's area encephalopathy or wet brain, when he was saying, like, you got to know how to put food on your family. Remember that one? They said, this guy's out of his mind. Did that hurt him? Not at all. Not in the least. He was they loved him as president. 2 terms. He was a moron. You think Kamala Harris is, what, she's that bad? Because what, she's on TikTok? Do you really think that Americans know? They might like her because of it. They might enjoy her in a weird way because she now has the same status as twerking, the rat pulling the pizza down the subway steps, and this new one, whatever this spitting sound, this one, and then take it on the outside, and all these. Let me just stop right. Let me stop. You do understand that we live in a world where rational thought means absolutely nothing. Nothing. We live in a world where they dispatch people in front of your very eyes while in federal lockup. And the American public, including Bill Barr, is told, nothing to see here, move along. We live in a world that believes that Mark Zuckerberg, on a whim, said, hey, I've got this idea. While at Harvard, I'm going to come up with this thing called social media, where, and this is pretty cool, where we can all kind of get together and then maybe we'll pool our resources and go to Silicon Valley and then sell it. Do you believe that? Mad P says, salute, Lionel. Every one of them are morally bankrupt beyond any foreseeable redemption. May they enjoy their VIP section in hell. Give this saw back to Mrs. L for trying to save babies. Thank you, will do, sir. They are indeed horrible. Clone Steve Dream Killer says, I think that Garage Door Lover would make an excellent candidate. Oh, yes, that would be Nathan Wade, the lover of Fannie Willis. So let me, again, I hate to be the killjoy here, But Americans think that somehow you think any of this matters? Look at where we are today. We live in a world of Karens gone wild at the airport. We look at people walking around, fat slobs, slippering around with their slides and their moccasins and their yoga pants and their umbilical piercings and gross, nasty, nasty people. I don't know. I will tell you this, that I don't care. Trump is going to win the election. And the only way that he can lose, and listen to me carefully, let me say this again. Trump is going to win the election is if they came up with a new rule that says we're going to use as voters people who are newly minted Americans, namely illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. Where all of a sudden you get 10 million new voters. Go, oh, who's this? Oh, you didn't know about that? Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, that was an administrative rule that was adopted by many states where people who are American citizens are able to. What? Yeah, you didn't know that? No, I didn't. Yeah. First time ever. I thought we told you that. No, you didn't tell us this. Yeah. It was passed a long while. Is that why they're here? Oh, you're not talking about the replacement theory, are you? Oh, you better not be talking about that because that's racist. You're not talking about the replacement theory, are you? Because that's exactly what this is. Do you think that anybody cares about, listen, thank you for meeting the shadow government annual meeting. Yes, it's true. We're all into depopulation, ruining hope, destroying the structure and the family of American institutions. We're here to control via AI and AGI and chips. But deep down inside, we have this one love to give people and provide people the freedom that they need in order to enjoy. Do you really think that they care at all about giving these wonderful people a home? Are you kidding me? They came in and there was a system in place you will never know about. All of them either scanned, looked at, biometrically cataloged. They know who these folks are. Or you didn't just come in and just say, see ya. Hey, whatever happened to Pedro? And I don't know. Remember that with the undocumented? Yeah, no. If you think they came in, this new currency of humanity, remember, the two most profitable businesses to be in is human trafficking and extortion. Remember, that feller who was dispatched in federal custody? Yeah. Remember all those recordings and hard drives? Yeah. We ever find out who got those? I have an idea. I'm sure you do too. EDAV3 says they have to keep Biden now. Too many ballots already filled out for them to go back and change now. It wasn't a Doog idea. That's very interesting. But either way, remember what's going to happen. We're going to argue about all this. Here's what I care about. Whether Biden stays on, steps down. Whether it's Kamala or, I don't know, Gavin or Gretchen Whitmer or that guy, whoever, Shapiro from Pittsburgh, as long as Trump wins. Because the Trump shows, all of the polls showed Trump, especially in battleground states, winning. Gretchen Whitmer said he's lost Michigan. Trump's lost Michigan. Biden's lost Michigan. And if Biden loses Michigan, it's over with. Now, here is the question. There's a lot of questions. Remember, not what I think, not what I want, This is what will happen. Well, I want Trump to win, of course, but number one, do you believe that there is going to be accurate polling that says that Kamala Harris would actually do well against Trump? No, wait. Not what you think, not your opinion, not your... Could she maintain whatever the particular margin was under an incompetent Joe Biden, or better than that? Could she best him, so to speak? That's one. Number two, could this activity occur in critical battleground states? Next, can she survive somehow? Because remember, the Democrats are going to vote for her no matter what. The Democrats are going to vote for a rock and a pickle jar, a speed bump, anything. And Republicans are going to vote for Trump no matter what. Period. End of discussion. Right? That's a given. That's not a reality. That's just a given. So the question is, what about the undecideds and the independents? Do you think they're going to go with Kamala Harris over either not voting, sitting this one out, or voting for Trump? Now, remember, I know you and I think she's an idiot. I understand that. Is that going to work? Let me throw another variable in here to make this even more interesting. Because remember, I don't believe the data will show that. I think that whatever differential Trump enjoys, he will maintain that, irrespective of Kamala Harris or anybody else. He will maintain it. Gavin Newsom, I think, could be a bit of a problem because, again, nobody cares about his profligacy, his concupiscent lifestyle. I don't think anybody cares about that. But he, I think, is more... I think he would pose more of a problem. He's a former governor. He knows his stuff. Okay, fine. But we'll worry about that later. Again, I don't care. As long as Trump wins. You can argue all you want. Here's something else you got to realize. And let me throw this one in that nobody's talking about. Okay? Good. If you imagine you meeting your... Oh, I don't know, Teddy White or maybe Krauthammer, somebody who passed away, an analyst, Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite comes back. And Walter Cronkite is sitting next to you, right? Walter Cronkite. And for those young folks, in my generation, Walter Cronkite was God. He was, okay. So there's Walter Cronkite. Now, Walter Cronkite sits next to you and you say, well, what do you think, Walter? And he says, well, I think based upon the performance, well, Walter, let me tell you something, I've got a problem here. What? Well, Kamala's going to have one issue here. What is that? TikTok, Instagram, but TikTok. TikTok is still the most important social media platform for the people I'm talking about. Not Twitter, not Instagram. Why? Walter, you may not know this, but since you've been gone, it's a great Chicago song, by the way. Since you've been gone, the weather's turned much warmer. Really not a lot for me to say. Amazing Rhythm Aces, Too Stuff to Jump. Greatest song. Anyway, I digress. Walter, you see, what happened was when you were alive, debates didn't mean much. And they really didn't ever. Oh, there were a few that. But we now watch a debate to see who really screws up. We don't listen to a word you say. But if you happen to pick up the water, remember who was it? Marco Rubio was drinking all this water and Trump was holding the water. It was big into water. How did he hold the water? Holding your water is an expression. They literally meant, how does he hold his water? And Walter Cronkite would say, what the hell does having to hold your water? I know, Walter. I know it's nuts. You don't understand. It's a new thing here. Walter, there are people, and I want you to listen to me. I know people, and I'm always sampling, friends of mine, whatever. There are people that I know who've never cared at all about anything involving politics, who are sending me TikTok videos and Instagram and TikTok in particular regarding memes and jokes where everybody is piling on, agreeing that Kamala Harris is a joke. Not that she's popular, but that she's a joke. And let me say this again. When you hit joke status, it's over. You may not remember this. They made fun of Gerald Ford. Chevy Chase did. Said he was clumsy, he was oafish, he was a fool, a poltroon, whatever. Gerald Ford was one of the most athletic presidents ever, but he slipped a couple of times, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. Once that starts, once Dan Quayle with the potato thing, once Ronald Reagan was viewed as being senile, he wasn't senile at all. He used to write, he wrote in a diary, but once something attaches to you, George W. Bush was a moron, but there was nobody really to go against him who could, it doesn't matter. Now, let me review. And remember, Al Gore beat him. Remember, re-elect Gore in 2004 was this very famous pin, if you can get a hold of it. Judas says, and the fly that landed on Pence's head, yes, during the debate with Kamala, yes, little things, little weird things like that. Now, Kamala, I want you to do yourself a favor. There are two actresses, comedians, both who imitate Kamala. They're okay, but listen to me carefully. You don't need them. You can go for the real thing. There are reels and reels and reels. There are unlimited, unedited excerpts of Kamala speaking this nonsense. Forget the laughing. The laughing is quaint. I did like her answer. She said, my mother laughed. In my family, we laughed. We belly laughed. It was a deep-throated cachinnation. And I liked it. I said, you know what? That's very, very good. That's very good. But that's not what we're talking about. It's the gibberish. It's called logolalia. And logolalia is word salad. It's what you hear in schizophrenics. It's when people cannot, if you ever hear about people who are, it was a fascinating YouTube piece I was watching of this girl who was arrested. She was in a bipolar episode. And it was schizoaffective. And she was, she was screaming and yelling, and she's talking about this and Albuquerque and this and that. And what about the Pence and that and King James? And it was this, the executive part of her brain, the frontal lobe and the orbital cortex and all that stuff is just not firing right. And limbic system is screwed up and corpus callosum, and she's angry. Is it this? It's confused. It's squirrely. It's crazy. It's that nutty kind of a thing. There's something about it which people always recognize as that's crazy. But in the old days, when you had George W. Bush, unless you watched ABC, NBC, CBS, young people didn't know about it. Young people didn't know he said it's time to put food on your family. That kind of stuff. And nuclear, remember he would say nuclear all the time. A lot of people say nuclear. But today we have this new thing called social media. And all of a sudden people are going to say, where has she been? This is the funniest thing. And once you break that blood-brain barrier and you become a meme, once you become a meme and a joke, and you become a part of the currency of mockery, you're through. And that results in either people sitting out, voting for the opposition, and Trump is best to just sit back and be quiet. One of his most brilliant lines was when he sat back and said, Joe, why don't we just talk? So let me just think about that one. Judas Goat, let me thank you, by the way. Judas Goat Barbecue, thank you for this. Edav, thank you. Clonus Steve, Dream Killer, Mad Peace, B. Wackle, Aussie here. Aussie here. You love him. Edie Crowley, our favorite. Brizen, our artist, by the way, in residence. Brizen, Bryzn, Himura. Nathan Shile, I believe, or it could be Skeel, but it's probably Shile. I would probably. Mr. Bradley Alpin, thank you. Ryan, our dear friend, Ryan, from across the pond, it appears. Raul Rodriguez, Ibrahim, and official Rai Nirvana. Thank you immensely, immensely. Now, listen to this one. As I've told you before, number one, October the 26th. October the 26th, yours truly will be at the Cutting Room in New York City. I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know how to describe this to you. I don't know what it is. It is 10 days before the election. The Cutting Room is probably one of the, I think is my favorite venue in this city. It's a kind of a concert venue hall. Dave Chappelle one time did a show after me, so I technically opened for him. Everybody's played there. Everybody. But you get to meet, in addition to this, fellow travelers, Trump supporters, Trump acolytes, but proud Americans and proud patriots who were there. And it's I don't know what it is. It's not comedy, though you will laugh. It's ribald at times, indeed. Always highbrow. Never cheap jokes. Not for me. No. With some gut bucket funk, the immaculate twang of a little bluegrass, I'll pick for you, I'll play for you. So that's right there. Those are the tickets. Operators are standing by. Plenty of free parking, parking is available. Now, also I ask you, Mrs. L's YouTube channel. She has a brand new story right now that parents don't know anything about. Her Lynn's Warriors is about stopping predation, human trafficking, but also grassroots efforts to make you know what's going on, and especially through digital safety and digital protection, all of that in the long run. The latest story that happened just now is that they're eventually going to shut down brick and mortar schools. You're going to see right now a complete and total collapse of the education system with the education society still intact. They'll still be there in some capacity. Because remember, this lobbying group is huge. They'll be in charge of, remote teaching or whatever it is. They're trying to destroy everything. What they are doing to kids is brutal. Have you noticed all of the attacks, all of the savagery against women and young people? And it's almost, and you can bet that when it is being performed by illegals, mum's the word. So one more time, follow her at Lynn's Warriors on YouTube and Lynn's Warriors on X or YouTube. Finally, as I've said to you before, you are so wonderful. Please make sure you remain subscribed to Lionel Nation, because for reasons I don't know, people will say, hey, I went to check and I was unsubscribed. So that's that. All right, my friends, what a glorious night. I had a ball last night. Just a ball watching this. Remember, lest you be confused, I want one thing and one thing only. For this man, this is my totemic. This is a wonderful piece here. This is a pen that this is part of my collection. Look at this. Look at my thing from Trump 2020. I've got stuff here that is just, anyway, this is what I want to happen. Why? Because the only way that this country is ever going to survive this, the only way is if Donald Trump is reelected. Donald Trump is chemotherapy. Donald Trump is he's the only answer to go in and to rewire this horror story that we are seeing. So when I talk to you about this, never think that I've lost my goal. This is my goal. I want it to happen. But when I analyze something and tell you what's going to happen, it has nothing to do with what I want. The good news is he's going to win. And the better news is that the Democratic Party may never be able to recover from this for 10 years. Because this is such a collapse. It will take a good 10 years to undo. And that's why while they're down, you have to step over them, put your boot heel on their neck, and curb them. That's it. I mean, there's no other way around. I know it sounds terrible. I know it's brutal. We have to show a ruthlessness, which we have learned by watching our opponents and enemies. Okay, you got that? Great. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Do not forget where you are from. And to all of our friends around the world who aren't necessarily American, God bless you, because we share in this, I think, this commonality of purpose, this rational sense of law and order and respect. Okay? We love you. Have a great and glorious day, my friends. Don't forget, see you tonight at 7 p.m. And until then, as we always say, don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you.